Under the criminal justice system, should all people always be treated equally? Are all people always treated equally? Answer to both questions, absolutely not. Are people treated as being innocent unless declared guilty in a court of law? Should people be treated as being innocent unless declared guilty in a court of law? Answer to both, sometimes. Generally speaking, if accurate to do so, what grade, from A to F, do the criminal justice systems in the U.S. deserve? Answer, from A to F depending on what is being compared. Compared to that of an utopia, it would be an F. Compared to the undesirable procedures in certain other countries, it could be as high as an A. Fines. Incarceration. Fines can be assessed against those committing serious criminal activity, to those violating parking restrictions, to even less significant offenses. Fines are assessed for violating some parking regulations as a deterrent to discourage violations. Other situations can be primarily for producing revenue. The results are sometimes dramatically different depending on the financial condition of the violators. Some people with very limited resources could be devastated by the fines, and not paying on time could eventually result in loss of their vehicles. After losing their vehicles, some have lost their jobs, and some had to drop out of school. These, along with other hardships, people having a much better financial condition can deliberately violate the same regulations without being adversely affected or even inconvenienced. Whatever the case, violating certain regulations can impede traffic and limit the ability for others to park their vehicles. In treating all violators equally, those that suffer the most and are most discouraged from violating the regulations are those with more limited financial resources. Are these cases of treating people equally fair? If violators were fined accordingly to their financial condition, some would pay less than $10 and the others more than $100 for the same violation. Of course, this would be very absurd as well as impractical. Accordingly, treating all violators equally is a very unequal situation. Incarcerating people for relatively minor offenses can result in dramatically different impacts to different people as well. Some people with a very poor financial condition, homeless, hungry, in need of health care actually violate certain laws in order to be incarcerated. Being incarcerated can be a much better situation for them. Other people, for different reasons, are not that significantly affected by short-term incarceration. For some people accustomed to a privileged lifestyle, the same short jail stay could be very traumatic, devastating, and debilitating. Also, some people could lose their credibility, reputation, employment, business, etc., while others would not have as much to lose. Again, treating people equally results in overwhelmingly disproportionate impacts for the violators. Bail, innocent until proven guilty. Some people accused of crimes remain in jail during legal proceedings because they do not have the resources to make bail. Those subsequently declared guilty could spend the entire time from arrest to release from incarceration in custody. This could be days, weeks, months, years, decades, or even the rest of their lives. They could be denied full contact with family members, the ability to handle their possessions, and take care of the other important issues. Some innocent people and their families are devastated financially after posting bail. Significant losses for some desperate to get out of jail. Being punished, subject to a horrendous ordeal for crimes they did not commit. Even when proven to be innocent, money paid for a bail bond is non-refundable. Some perpetrators of more serious crimes are able to make bail when necessary resources are readily available, even if it's in the millions of dollars. This, even if they are totally guilty as charged. But also, it should be noted that having a good financial situation could lead to more accountability. There could be resources available to compensate victims. It could be very difficult for some widely known individuals to go into hiding. In a utopia, people would not be taken into custody or locked inside a jail cell unless they were proven to be guilty. But such a policy here would not be impractical, but would have devastating results as numerous criminals would be free to victimize others. But some of the policies, procedures, and practices are very unethical and devastate the lives of innocent people. For some innocent people, being locked inside a jail cell is tantamount to torture. The loss of freedom, helplessness, harsh treatment, sometimes sharing cells with very undesirable people, etc. Even for some being forced to either eat food they would never ordinarily consume or go hungry. Lack of privacy while using the toilet is awful for people as well. People have been incarcerated for days, weeks, months, and even years until the case against them was dropped. They were declared innocent or totally exonerated, yet they are considered innocent until proven guilty. That phrase is a fallacy, unless society agrees that innocent people should be incarcerated. But sometimes being in jail is not the worst part of the ordeal. People have lost their employment, business, life savings, etc. Many have unjustifiably had their own reputation and credibility tarnished. One major injustice is allowing the media to broadcast the arrest and charges against innocent people. Most criminals go through the legal proceedings without publicity. Aside from those associated with the victims, legal systems, and the perpetrators, often very few others are aware of the situation. The media can pick and choose which situations they want to cover. Coverage can be a de facto guilty verdict without the opportunity to defend oneself, and people certainly can't count on coverage of their exoneration, and the same viewers may not be tuned in anyways. Thus, members of the media can decide which lives they devastate, while the overwhelmingly vast majority of criminals are not at all well known. Innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, due process, etc. Yet over the decades, numerous innocent people have been declared guilty and incarcerated. Some received a death sentence, died while incarcerated, or spent decades in penitentiary. Numerous others known to be guilty of committing criminal activity escaped prosecution for technical reasons. Some innocent people were declared guilty in a relatively short period of time, yet, in some high-profile cases, perpetrators have been referred to as being suspect, and legal proceedings were not concluded for months or even years. Rampage killers witnessed by many, apprehended at the scene with irrefutable evidence and confessing to their atrocities are included. The amount of expense, time, and resources involved can be staggering. Sometimes extremely methodical studies and investigations to confirm the obvious. This, even when it's clear the perpetrator was a deranged individual acting alone, millions of dollars can be spent for the whole process. Justice would have better been served if most of that amount was utilized to assist surviving victims, families of the murdered, etc. Instead, the long-drawn proceedings can actually torment survivors and prolong some of the sufferings. This includes continued news coverage showing the deranged faces numerous times for several seconds at a time. Some children had suffered immensely due to the behavior of despicable family members. Child Protective Services did not intervene as they should have. Some children have suffered immensely after Child Protective Services unjustifiably devastated their families.
Court decisions. Then there are different court decisions. The innocent wrongly convicted, the guilty declared not guilty, and the sentences. With all the inconsistencies, sentences for crimes committed under similar circumstances include probation and years in prison. Many innocent defendants have been compelled to plead guilty to avoid being devastated even further. Many guilty defendants have been freed and able to devastate more lives. Many partially guilty or have committed other crimes and have not been prosecuted have ended either way. It has been a common perception that O.J. Simpson got away with murder. Using the true meaning of the words, he never did. His life has been adversely affected in a number of ways, and he spent a period of time incarcerated. He did not serve a sentence appropriate for the crimes committed, but he did not really get away with murder. A very large percentage of general population considers him to be a murderer. Although he has not suffered nearly as much as most think he should have, there has been some accountability and some consequences. The sentence he received in Las Vegas is very disproportionate as compared to certain other sentences throughout the country. Many defendants guilty of more serious crimes under more serious situations have received shorter sentences. On December 5, 2008, in Las Vegas, Nevada, the sentence given to O.J. Simpson in the robbery case was 9 to 33 years. On July 23, 2014, in Las Vegas, Nevada, a defendant's sentence was 10 years to life for the killing and dismemberment of his ex-girlfriend. In February 2014, a Texas teenager was sentenced to 10 years probation, no jail time, for badly injuring one person, paralyzing another, and killing 4 for drunk driving. If the sentence O.J. Simpson received was influenced by the previous trial in Los Angeles, it further illustrates inequalities. Even if he deserves much worse, it would not be appropriate for the court to punish him for what occurred in Los Angeles. The old saying, 2 wrongs don't make a right, could come into play. If it were concluded he deserves to die, would it be justifiable for any state to execute the sentence? Under what type of circumstances is it appropriate to have uninvolved parties carry out sentences? Entrapment. Consider this example. A man is routinely driving down a street on his way home. He notices a nice-looking woman that has been standing near an intersection. He stops at a nearby store, and when leaving the store, notices she is still there. Based on a report on a news segment he recently saw, he thinks she may be a prostitute. Even though his name is John, he has never considered getting involved with a prostitute. But at this moment, he just happens to really be in the mood. Something about her is very appealing to him. He approaches her and begins a conversation. Based on her responses, he feels certain that she is indeed a prostitute. He succumbs to his primal instinct and makes an offer. He gets the shock of his life when he is abruptly taken into police custody for soliciting a prostitute. The woman was actually an undercover police officer. Had she not been there, he would have continued his routine without ever engaging a prostitute for the rest of his life. But now his life is going to be devastated. The police may be very pleased and proud to have gotten another one taking the bait. What is really being accomplished? Maybe the vast majority of those arrested have been soliciting women before and deserve to be apprehended. But under which circumstances is it acceptable to have as the basis of the offense an undercover police officer? Rather than observing and then apprehending the violators, the police are participants. Without police as decoys, particular incidents would not have occurred. In some cases, law enforcement personnel investigate the situation, then prosecute otherwise innocent individuals that act inappropriately because of the situation. This can be as subtle as crossing a street. At times, ununiformed police officers go back and forth across the street to catch motorists that do not yield to pedestrians. Again, there can be aberrations among the violators. Among those driving through on just this one occasion, there could be some type of one-time distraction. By the way, the vast majority of incidents involving vehicles hitting pedestrians could be very easily avoided. Most important, it is not who has the right of way, the speed of the vehicle, motorists that fail to yield, road conditions, etc. Very simply, people should be fully aware of the surroundings before attempting to cross a street. They should only enter the street after determining it is safe. Freak occurrences and unusual circumstances will continue to occur, but compromise a small percentage of the incidents. Examples of more accurate ways of citing violators can be found with some speed enforcement. This when police officers are simply observing traffic looking for speeders. It shouldn't necessarily be considered inappropriate if they are hiding, as long as they are not influencing motorists to speed. Often these are referred to as being speed traps, but are not at all the same as some scams used in the past. The scams included speed limits that were abruptly and drastically reduced upon entering a municipality while driving on a highway. However, the stated goals of current speed enforcement details can be flawed. Some want to reduce speeding by sending a message. But who are they sending a message to? When the overwhelming majority of motorists cited do not routinely pass through the area, there may not be significant reduction in speeding in the future. Some police actions involving conclusions exacerbates the situation, and they appear to either be oblivious to the ordeal of motorists or not be concerned. For example, there is a simple traffic accident involving a police vehicle. The damage to the police vehicle is less than $3,000. Police officials then close the highway for their lengthy investigation. Over 25,000 motorists are adversely affected. The monetary losses exceed over $1 million, and many are grossly inconvenienced. By the way, police often close streets, preventing people from going to work and back home, to school, and on their planned trips, because they want to conduct their investigation. Often the restrictions placed on the public is exaggerated and unnecessary. The cost to the public can far exceed the value of the investigation. Even more often, businesses lose financially and customers inconvenience when driveways are blocked during routine traffic stops.